Round number 4. President Trump had a gaggle out for. I like that word, by the way.
Gaggle.
Whenever you're meeting outside, just outside the Rose Garden. I'd meet in the Rose Garden every day. The Rose Garden, lovely, by the way. Have any of you ever been to the Rose Garden?
Unfortunately, no. I would love to get inside the White House, man.
I would love to. You hear that, FBI? You'd love to get inside the White House. It sounds pretty. I would love to rip a cig in the Rose Garden, just alone in the morning with a coffee.
We need to make that happen. I would love to get
our guy, me and Con's favorite president, President Bartlett, used to do that all the time.
Oh, yeah. Leo, you got one? All right, cool. Let's go. Rip it right outside the White House. Or,
smoke them if
Oval
you got
Office.
them. All right, so one of the things that President Trump talked about was a new medicine that is going to be designed as a stimulant produced by Johnson & Johnson that President Trump said has been helping people with PTSD-like treatments if they are in a state of crisis.
Well, can we play that clip?
Yeah, let's play the clip.
They remain concerned about veteran suicide.
You gotta speak up.
Veteran suicide, AMVET says it's their top priority. Talk with me about what the administration's task force has done since its creation.
Well, we're doing a lot having to do with veteran suicide. We have a task force that's set up. There's a product that's made right now that just came out by Johnson & Johnson, which has a tremendously positive, pretty short term, but nevertheless a positive effect. I've instructed the head of the VA to go out and buy a lot of it, and we are buying a lot of it. Hopefully we're getting it at a very good cost. And this is I guess it's a form of a stimulant where if somebody is really in trouble from the standpoint of suicide, it can do something. It's pretty well known, just came out. It's made, I believe, by Johnson & Johnson, and we have calls in now to Johnson & Johnson. Those calls, we've been dealing with them for 2 months on buying a lot of it.
President Trump is openly saying there that he has instructed VA officials to make a massive purchase of the antidepressant Spravato in an effort to stem veteran suicide, of which research shows about 20 a day still does unfortunately occur. And Trump is saying it's had a tremendously positive effect in early testing, that he's optimistic it will help with mental health problems in the veteran community. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, because I have kind of been out in the loop in it. Is there like a magic pill now, or is there something special that will really truly help in the long term? And so I did a little bit of research on it because there was pushback on it. The Center for Public Integrity had reported that Trump was pushing VA officials for quicker adoption of this Spravato drug. And it's a ketamine-like drug in mental health treatments. And there's been some experts worried about its effectiveness and everything. So I looked into it. What the hell is this Spravato, and what is ketamine, and what's all that like? Quick drug lesson from probably the lady here who dabbles in experiments more than anyone. Ketamine was traditionally used as a sedative for medical procedures in the 70s, and as feel-good drugs tend to do, it got adopted for the nightclub scenes in the 80s, 90s, and beyond. I even know I've heard before falling into a K-hole is when you do too much.
I've heard that.
And you're like outside. Yeah. So that's because a K-hole is because ketamine has dissociative properties.
Much different than a B-hole.
Way different from a B-hole. You want to make sure. K-hole, you don't need gloves. B-hole, maybe. What am I talking about? So basically, though, ketamine and this Spravato have properties that make you feel disconnected from your body and the world. So like almost like an out-of-body experience where you're still experiencing things, but you feel very detached from it.
Right.
And that's actually a really good thing when it comes to treatments for PTSD, because it's the idea that a drug like Spravato can help people work through their trauma without reliving all the emotions associated with it. So they can sit there and talk about it and organize it in their minds without that terror feeling that sometimes comes when you relive things. And in trials, 41% of people said they felt disassociation with Spravato. So that's great. So now I'm thinking, well, what exactly is it? Is it something that I would pop every day and so I would feel, in small doses or something? It's actually a nasal spray that veterans would only be allowed to take, and anybody who takes it, wouldn't just be for veterans, under supervision in a doctor's office. So and it only lasts for a short time. So it would be more like it would be taken in tandem with depression drugs already. So say I'm taking Zoloft and then I go for my therapy and I'm sitting in the therapist's office under supervision. I take a little of the Spravato and then we have a therapy session while I'm feeling disassociated. It fades and I go back about my life. So it's not a quick fix. It's not some magic pill. And I think further research on it is a great thing. I think, hey, anything that helps you with therapy and talking about your traumas is fantastic. But also, this was an actual sentence on the Spravato website. The exact way that Spravato works is unknown.
Yeah, I think that's the most problematic thing.
Yeah,
and I am concerned. Like, I don't want to put it just in the same category as ketamine because it says it's ketamine-like. So maybe there is some difference along the way, like where they have made a longer term where you don't have to do it just like that. Hopefully, maybe. We don't know. Like, I don't think anybody really knows what it is because it hasn't been actually presented like at the VA yet, right? They're not currently doing it.
The actual name for it is like ketamine-E or something like that. So it's very, very close. But yeah, they're still doing research on it. In June, a VA medical advisory panel declined to put the drug on its list of VA-approved medications. But I know for sure others are really pushing for it. I believe also I was reading if somebody is in a very suicidal state, that this is a quick fix for that, just in the moment to make them disassociate. It's been proven helpful.
Gosh,
it's
all these, and I'm certainly obviously not a doctor, although I play one on TV. Drugs in general just kind of make me uneasy, right? And I'm not saying if there are drugs that if there are drugs and medications that help people deal with PTSD and that works for you, that's fine. It just makes me a little uneasy that it's something that it's just a quick fix and you have to use under the supervision of a doctor.
Right.
It has undertones, and then you see in the article it's, developed by a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson. The whole pharmaceutical industry is this giant cash cow that, again, I don't know that they have people's best interests at heart at all times. I think there's a lot of executives within the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, right. It's like, hey, can we push this drug and say it's going to fix something and it'll line our pockets? Cool, go ahead. And they're really removed from it, so they have no problem taking that stance.
Right.
I would just like a little more research done before I am all set on saying, hey, take Spravato.
My concern is that, this drug is designed to only be taken in a doctor's office, but there are ways to back channel those things and get them like on the black market. Like, you can get your hands on that stuff without having to go through a doctor. So what about the people that are going to be abusing this?
It's already
I think
out there.
that's true of any drug.
If you want to abuse ketamine, you certainly can do it.
Well, it's not even ketamine, but this specific drug, or sure.
No,
ketamine,
that's a fair question.
I don't think a veteran would go to like an actual drug dealer to get like real ketamine that they use in clubs and stuff like that. I'm talking about like going and getting like legitimate prescribed stuff.
Well, but I think that goes to a deeper point that we've talked about, and especially
it just sounds like another opioid.
Well, right. I think, and the folks over at Headstrong talk about this all the time. When you're talking about self-medication, that's where a lot of times you can run into issues.
Right.
And that's why and from my own opinion, you should treat PTSD from the mental health aspect of it, not just taking a bunch of drugs that may or may not affect the chemical balance in your brain. So that's why it scares me. To that point, Bren, people just start abusing it, and then what?
Well, I don't even think that this in particular, I think I just kind of resented it a little because he made it sound like there's like this magic thing and giving people that's a hopeful what? There's this thing, and then you look into it and you're like, oh, not really. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's something maybe that could help in a way, but it definitely doesn't fix or solve anything.
No, and I think that we kind of look into that a little bit more. If it is one of those things where you do have an acute issue where you are suicidal and there is something that can help in that way, acute issue, I think that's a great development.
Yep.
If you get somebody down off the ledge, I think that's something that should be applauded, even if it's only something that's a one-time use and you have to go in. The issue is that we have to remove the stigma of mental health, like in order to get people in the door, because to get people to the door of the VA and be like, hey, I'm on the verge of suicide is tough. To do that mentally, that's a tough road to hoe. So maybe we need to figure out ways to get them involved in treatment before it gets to that. But obviously, if somebody's at that point and we've developed something that helps them off the ledge, amazing.
Yeah, I'm all for it, for sure. Just want to see a little more research done.
Has anybody suggested free donuts in the lounge?
Dude, I'll tell you what. Simple fix.
Wow.
Cost efficient.
Huge shout out to Military Order of the Purple Heart. They always do that.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a treat.
And the VAs down here, you guys don't have that there? The VAs down in Texas, a lot of the Military Order of the Purple Heart have donuts and shit. You give like 50 cents or whatever, you get a donut, hang out with those fellas.
No.
I love that.
That's
Man.
fantastic. Donuts,
Too bad
donuts go a long way. Little donuts.
Too bad you guys aren't members.
Hootie and the Blowfish playing overhead. You're all set.
All right, let's move on to round 5.